Muhammad, according to the Quran, his only miracle is the Quran. He's challenged over and over and over again. Why can't you produce miracles like the prophets who came before you? And the response is, no, he's only a warner. He's only this. He's only that. And well, he came with the Quran, didn't he? But Muslims, because you have tons of miracle claims in the Hadith, which come from 2 centuries later, and it's obvious where these come from, right? And in that 2 century gap, Muslims keep running into Jews and Christians, and the Jews and Christians keep going, hey, where's the miracles? Where are the miracles? And so, Muslims start coming back with, oh, here we go. Fresh ink on this, but yeah, we've got our miracle stories too. The main thing they go with is that Muhammad split the moon. He split it. It's a big miracle. And they have to base this on a passage. It doesn't say anything about Muhammad doing anything. It just says the moon is cleft asunder, right? And you see, that's it.
If the moon had split in two in Muhammad's lifetime in the 7th century, this moon splitting, at the same time when it's observed in Mecca, the moon being split in two would have also been seen in Europe, in Africa, in India, in Persia, in China, in Japan, and many other places. And people would definitely, one of those great civilizations would definitely make a note of that. They would know that. People would observe that. People would write that down. And we would know by now that in the 7th century, for some reason, somehow the moon split in two and came together again. It is just impossible. I mean, no sane person could say that the moon splitting took place, and no one in the world saw that. We're talking about civilizations. In the 7th century, Arabia was very backward. They had nothing. They were just desert dwellers who were afraid of jinns at night. At the same time, the Europeans were very advanced. Byzantine Romans were very advanced. They had records. They had historians. They were looking at the sky, at the objects. In India, astronomy was very advanced at that time. It was advanced. People were every night and day. There were people who would observe the sky and see what is happening to the moon and the stars and all that stuff. Now, I want to share something with you. I want to share a piece of a clip with you, which is from this individual called Farid. I went to his video in which he's trying to refute my moon splitting. Look what I found. Look what his argument is.
One of the reasons why we do not have heaps of documented evidence was because most people were asleep at night.
The reason we don't have any secondary sources. Wait, let me show that again. Yeah, I have to show you this again.
One of the reasons why we do not have heaps of documented evidence was because most people were asleep at night.
Am I the only one who thinks this is one of the most ridiculous things that I've ever heard?
He's got a point. Most people would be asleep. I mean, come on, you can't deny that. People sleep at night. Come on.
The argument here is we don't have any secondary reports of the moon splitting in two in the 7th century because it happened at night, because people were sleeping. People were sleeping. They didn't see that because people were asleep. They were tired. It was night. The moon splitting happened at night, of course. It happens at night because that's when the moon is out.
Farid destroys the apostate prophet. Ancient civilizations of the time, many of them were obsessed with astronomy and on detailing the movements of the stars and things like that, and the moon and all these, getting every comets, all these little details. They always took note of things that were happening because they took these things as like signs and things like that. So they always recorded things like eclipses and everything else. The idea that, they'd be sitting around and the moon splits in half in the sky and just no one in the entire world notices it. And the Quran itself doesn't even draw attention to it. In fact, what you can even read, if you read like the Yusuf Ali translation of the Quran, he points out that there are different interpretations of the verse, even among Muslims. Some regard that as like a warning of the day of judgment. The moon is cleft asunder. So even Muslims don't agree. So it's so unclear, even in the Quran, what it's talking about, that even Muslims don't agree that this is talking about Muhammad splitting the moon. It's not until you get to the Hadith a long time after that they conclude that this is about Muhammad splitting the moon. So yeah, the idea it's just people at night, they sleep and so they don't know what's going on in the sky, and a giant dragon could come and just gobble up the moon and no one's going to notice. They're all asleep.
people at that time, they were all asleep. And so, some people saw it. In the following seconds of the video, he even claims that some people might have seen it, but they were probably questioned their own sanity, and they didn't want to tell anyone else because no one would believe them that the moon split in two. People believed in all kinds of nonsense at that time.
No, hang on. AP, just imagine yourself back here, right? If you're sitting there, right, you're one of the people who's up at night, you're the guard, you're on guard in the city and stuff like that. You look up, you see the moon splitting in half. Aren't you going to be like, everyone get up? Look at this. Everyone. Hey, you. Look at that. Look. Hey, you right there. Could you look up, please? That's going to be my verification. No, guys, they recorded every detail about everything that they saw happening in the skies. They recorded every time Halley's Comet came by. They recorded all these things. They would have been pretty darn freaked out by the moon splitting in half. But no one was. Why? Most obvious explanation is didn't happen.
Yeah, it didn't happen. I mean, look at this. To take a look at this. This is what we see. The Islamic Hadith even described that the moon was so clear. It was so clear that people clearly observed the moon splitting in two, and its parts moving toward a mountain and the other toward the other mountain. And one Hadith even says they could see the Hira mountain between the two parts of the moon. That's how clear it was. And imagine you are in different parts of the world. You are in the Sassanid Empire, which is huge, which is advanced, which is currently in its golden age, and is neighboring the Arabs. And you see the Romans, the Eastern Romans, and they look up to such a clear moon. This clear moon is being split in two, but those people don't notice it because they are asleep. Mm-hmm. Because they're asleep, or they think, "Oh, this is not happening. I don't believe this is happening. I'm not gonna tell anyone about this. I'm not gonna write this down either." Can you believe this? Can you believe in believing such nonsense? And this guy actually thinks that is a legitimate defense of Islam's miracle claim. How can you imagine yourself actually thinking that is a legitimate defense, and then actually make that a video, make that a part of your refutation video? People didn't see it. We don't have any secondary sources because everyone else in the world in the 7th century, which was not very backward at all, astronomy started maybe 1,000 years before that.
Welcome to Islam, guys. I just have to point out, right? Keep in mind, I'm a Christian. I'm a guy who believes in miracles, right? I believe miracles happen. So my criticism is not, it's just stupid to think that the moon could be, split, stuff like that. God could do that. God could split the moon if he wants. It's more along the lines of, wait a minute, you've got the Quran. The Quran repeatedly denies that Muhammad could perform miracles. You've got this completely ambiguous verse that even Muslims don't agree on that just says, and the moon has been cleft asunder. Doesn't say anything about Muhammad doing it, Muhammad commanding it, anything like that. And then that verse is revealed, and then there are tons of verses that were revealed after that about people challenging Muhammad to perform a miracle, and Muhammad getting a revelation saying, I'm only a warner. I don't perform miracles. My miracle is the Quran, which it should have, if that were a miracle that had actually occurred, the response should have been, what are you talking about? I split the moon. It never says that, right? Like Allah suddenly forgot that he split the moon, right? So what are you guys trying to tell us about your God? So if you're saying the moon split in half, well, that's something that people would have noticed, and they just didn't.